Hi Gemini, welcome to your general Tarotscope for the first half of November, and this goes until the 14th of November when we have a full moon in your 12th house, which is your woo-woo house, where mysticism and irrational things that are not logical are occurring. Okay, this is not what an air sign quite expected, right? And you are an air sign and you probably value logic and you value your intellect. Well, this is on a soul level. And this is kind of indistinct. This is kind of otherworldly. So this kind of a full moon can really be quite mystical, can really be sometimes unsettling for people that don't want to look at stuff that they've buried, some issues, because the full moon tends to bring them to light. Some people can have vivid dreams, and that's where their revelations come from, or just, a flash of insight, perhaps. And actually, before that, on the 8th, 9th, early in the morning of the 9th, maybe, around about those parts, Mars is going into Aquarius, which is a friendly sign to you, being a fellow air sign. So that's going to be your 9th house of publishing, of travel, foreign travel. And so that, and also of, what's the other one? Well, kind of like your religious framework. So yeah, some of you may be having some kind of an awakening where you're becoming much more active with this. Maybe you really want to know something. Maybe, you've been living life on the surface and now you're starting to feel like there's more than meets the eye. And I would definitely say that with that full moon is that you'll realize there's more than meets the eye. But even with that drive in the 9th house, it's like the drive of the spirit. But it could be simply being very driven academically, because it also rules the area of higher education, and certainly more than a few of you probably are in this arena, Gemini. Some of you are professors, or you're teachers, maybe of some level, but this is more of academia. You may be a student. You may be really researching something and going full throttle. This might be around the time of your papers. Maybe you're doing your dissertation or what have you. But in any case, it could just be travel. Maybe you're traveling and you're just, you're already a mercurial energy where you're always hard to pin down. Now this may be long distances that you're doing this. Venus is going to go into Capricorn, and for you this is the 8th house. So this could bring money to areas involving other people's money. So you may profit from other people's money in some way. So it's possible that this could have something to do with inheritances, I suppose, if that's been something that has been on the radar for you already. Maybe it has to do with, if you have a spouse, it could be that they get a raise. But it could, I think it could relate to dividends, other types of passive income. So maybe you get some money that you didn't even know it was on its way. So, whatever, it sounds good to me. And then you have, that's on the 11th, that's happening. The very next day, Mercury, which is your ruler, goes into Sagittarius, your opposite sign. So this has to do with something with long-term partnerships, such as marriages, or the live-in equivalent. And maybe, some people have a marriage on the rocks and they start talking again. It could be a number of things that are transpiring that are making you more talkative. It could be a legal thing. Maybe it has to do with something to do with an inheritance, and now you're talking to somebody of a legal persuasion, like a lawyer or a sometimes that's the 9th house, and of course you have Mars there. So either way, you're covered, I guess. But this could be something that you maybe it has to do with a contract, a legal contract, something that you have to sign. So anyway, that sounds very interesting. So let me get to the cards. Hopefully you haven't clicked off yet. I did have somebody say to me, you said you were going to do the tarot and you didn't do it. And then I busted them out because they didn't even bother to watch the rest of it. So, okay, here we go for Gemini. I'm just going to, I think I've just been cutting cards like this, which I think sometimes that's for the best. Getting that 9 of Cups all the time. Put this so you can see it more. I don't have to anymore. Yeah, you know, one of the reasons that, I mean, besides the fact I'm first and foremost an astrologer, and the reason I'm telling you this is because that was the first thing that I studied. The tarot I have studied, especially since I've come on YouTube, because I realize how popular it is around the world. You know, for some reason, people really connect to these images, and the archetypes or the symbols, the symbology, whatever you want to call it. And so I have to go where people seem to be drawn, you know, and it's been interesting. I knew about the tarot before, but it's just that I had to really, you know, kind of bone up on it a lot more. But in this case, some of the cards that I've drawn, they are directly related to some of those transits that I was talking about, and I'll kind of talk about, like, for instance, this right here. This is the Lover's card. Now, of course, you know, it's self-explanatory if you're in a relationship. Now, this is your card, Gemini. This is associated with Gemini individuals. So unless you have somebody else that's a Gemini in your life, this is probably you, but it could just be indicating someone who is, you know, forming a partnership. And I was talking about that 7th house, and that is the house of partnership. And actually, come to think of it, you know, even Venus has been there. And Venus is going into the 8th. I said it was going into Capricorn. So that means that, you know, from the 1st of the month through the 11th, it's going to actually be in that house of partnership. So maybe you're going to have a kind of, if you've been having any kind of marital difficulties, this is more in the realm of committed partnerships, not dating scenarios, unless you've been dating a real long time, a really long time. Okay, so, but this could be definitely something to do with you're joining forces with somebody else for a business. Anything. 7th house could be having, you know, a business partner, having a clientele, and that Venus, you know, it brings money, but it also just brings that sense of cohesion with the Lover's card there. In the past position, we have the Emperor card, and you know, one of the things that could be happening too is divorce. I see the Emperor sometimes, even though it's associated with the military, so the military and the police force, if you know somebody who's in that line of work. But to me, it's also anybody who's the head of something in life, in that has to do with, to me, it's almost like a judge. So to me, maybe some of you have already seen the judge, gone through that. Maybe that's what that 8th house is, that you're going to get money for a divorce settlement. Maybe it's not inheritance so much as divorce. but you're seeing somebody, that person is judging the situation, they're making a judgment on it, or it could be that the person is an Aries that you used to be with. Maybe you're with somebody who is, it could be that this person is a water sign. Since this is the energy that's coming in, that person could be a water sign. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, probably most likely a Pisces, I'm thinking, because the number 3 is connected to, I think it's connected somehow, at least in an old way, to Pisces through Jupiter, because Jupiter used to also rule Pisces a long time ago. So maybe it has something to do with that. But it can be simply that you are feeling like you have a weight lifted off of you. If you've been, going away from a relationship, maybe it's not a marriage, but it's some kind of relationship with somebody who's very dictatorial, very rigid in their thinking. Again, they could be a cop, or maybe I don't know if a fireman, but something. Somebody who's in the military, but they're very much, this is wrong, this is right, and you don't think like that. You're very fluid, you're very flexible. This person's very inflexible, and that would be the major issue that you would have with such an individual. And so now you're just kicking up your heels with your friends, and you're feeling a lot lighter. Maybe you have a new lover, represented by the Lover's card. Now let's look at the higher message here. And then just the hits keeps getting better and better. 9 of Cups, feeling maybe a bit smug, feeling like, hey, I did it. I got out of that relationship finally. Maybe it took you 20 years. Who knows? But you feel like a sense of accomplishment or victory. But definitely there's, I associate even monetary success with this. I've been getting this card over and over again for some reason. But very good card when it comes to having your dreams fulfilled. Is a yes card. And actually, what was I going to say about well, maybe I'm thinking of a different sign, so I'm not going to say it. But it's a higher message, so it's also kind of like a word of caution, I would assume, about being too smug about your successes and not, just kind of being cool about it and humble, especially if you have gained a lot, because this is, one of the most positive cards of the minor arcana. So it could be one of those things where, you really have some kind of something to show for all of this success, and it's tempting not to rub it in people's faces that maybe have downed you or whatever they did, and you may feel like, I want them to know exactly what they've done or exactly what I have accomplished. And it's better to just sometimes just enjoy your successes quietly, especially if you're tempted to do it out of some form of revenge. But just know that you have a lot of good cards here. So that's, even if you've come through something difficult, it's there for you. Now, the challenge position is the Knight of Wands. So I think, if anything, and this is kind of like similar to what I got with Leo, this can be an actual person who is really a womanizer. I mean, I wish I could think of a female version of a womanizer, because I don't want to be sexist against men, but, a player, someone who is just out to, kind of like love them and leave them type of person. And you have to guard either about being that person because you're free and you feel this sense of like euphoria that you're free, not to be this sort of person, but also not to attract one into your life, because you might end up getting hung up on that person, because the person may be very exciting, You may have great physical chemistry, but it just might be one of those, these people that are really out of control. And, you getting involved with them just kind of puts you in danger of, whatever kind of havoc that they might wreak on your life. Might just be on the emotional level. They might just be, trying to have an affair, and then you think, hey, maybe this is a good relationship, and then they're gone again. But definitely also with yourself, not to be so pent up from some kind of feeling like you were in prison, and now the world is your oyster, but you don't want to get food poisoning from the oysters. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's probably like a bad analogy, but whatever. I think you know what I mean. The advice is the 10 of Cups. So this is another card with the 9 of Cups that is just really, celebrating something. In this case, there can be a family component. So there might be a family celebration. There could be a marriage. Maybe it's not your wedding. Maybe your child is getting married. You're having just a lot of celebrations, a lot of social. Of course, in America, we do have Thanksgiving. I know Canada does too. I think Canada, you guys have it on I don't know. Do you have it on the 1st of November, or you have it in October or something? I don't know. Maybe you don't even have it in November. But in America, after Halloween, they actually, start with this music sometimes. The Christmas music starts like November 1st sometimes, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. At least that's how I feel. Even though I love those songs, but I don't want to hear it for 2 months straight. I don't know if anybody feels me on that, but so by that time of mid-November, you're probably, especially as a Gemini, you're probably going to really be, kicking up your heels anyway, because it's that time of the year. And then this could be icing on the cake if you're getting away from a tyrannical individual, or if you just are in the throes of a new love relationship, as evidenced by the Lover's card. You may just be in that frame of mind where everything is just going your way. I feel like everything is going your way, actually. So it may be celebrations with family. It may be celebrations. Could be a marriage proposal for some people, depending on how long you've been in a new relationship. The outcome is the King of Swords. This is one of those cards that made me think about the transits I was talking about, because this could be like a judge. But I've been getting a lot of kings in the final position too, which is interesting. You know what I would think though, because I was going to say it could be some people becoming fathers. If you're a male Gemini watching this, you may find out that you have become a father. Kings relate to the father. Could be your own father is somehow overseeing all of this in some way. But I'm talking about, especially if they are no longer in the physical, they could be somehow, I was going to say orchestrating, but really just a part of it. Kind of like, if you've been thinking about your father and he's no longer on this plane of existence. Maybe something maybe he was responsible for nudging you to meet that person, represented by the Lover's card. But these cards can also relate to successful business partnership, successful clients. Having a lot of clients, if you have your own business, maybe just making a lot of good contacts. And remember too, I just want to say this, with that 7th house also being about the business side of things. It can be like clientele and, having a partner. Remember that because it's Sagittarius, we have these transits now we have Saturn, still in that 7th house until the end of 2017. So this can really solidify your partnerships, your clientele base. And you know, it all goes together very nicely. So with that King of Swords, it could be that you're seeing things, you're really seeing things very clearly, you're in control of your emotions, you're very rational. Maybe you feel like you are, some of you are like really involved in advanced education, and the King of Swords is representing, because the swords can represent your intellectual activities as well, and so maybe you're really pursuing the highest degree in your field, and you've decided to do that. And you know, just everything, it's in the upright position, so it's very, I think it's going to be a very good influence, especially for you as an air sign. And it could be that you're winding up with an air sign, so fellow Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. But whatever's happening, I wish you all the best. If you'd like a personal reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a great first part of November. Bye.